I'm over this cold, and by cold I mean the weather, not whatever I have going on, which might be something, I have no idea. But yeah, when I was driving and it was 10 degrees yesterday, I was like, was it yesterday or today? Either way, whatever it was 10 degrees this week, it sucked. I'm over it. Bring back the spring, please. Thank you.
Yeah, man. I, you know, it's funny like how when you're a kid and everything, like you very much like the winter weather because with winter weather that means snow's happening, and with snow happening means 2 hour delays and cancellations and no school. But nowadays, whenever you see snow, people want to at least our age and like adults in general are like, oh man, like they throw a temper tantrum, or some of them get so excited that they end up wrecking their cars on the highway. But it's interesting like how your attitude about winter in general changes as you get older. So I guess this is growing up.
It is, it is. And I'm glad you said that instead of, some dirty words in French.
And welcome back, everybody, to the best music podcast on planet Earth. The way that we measure that distinction is we travel to Ukraine and we go all the way to Uganda, but we take the long way around. This podcast is called Hey, Listen to This. And it is indeed hosted by two dashingly good-looking men who share the same middle name. I am the one. I am the only. I'm the one who, is starting to believe in the Penguins being a playoff team. Dare I say it, maybe a Stanley Cup dark horse contender, Ryan James Kearns.
And I am the one, the only, I'm kind of right there with you, but I'm not going to say those words out loud because I don't want to jinx anything, Matthew James Durzik. And for those of you who don't know what it is that we do here on Hey, Listen to This, it's right there in the title. What we listen to are albums full of music, and me and Ryan listen to an album. For each episode, we go by the songs on the album, track by track, line by line, note by note. We pick out what we like, what we don't like, what we thought could improve, what performances we thought stood out. We give them ratings based on if we like them more than any other songs, and we think they're so bad we'll never listen to them again. And at the end of every episode, we give a full rating of the album out of 10. We recommend another album based on the one we just talked about, and we pick a new album to talk about, and the cycle begins anew. So Ryan, last week, what is it? What album did we talk about for Hey, Listen to This?
So last week we kept the gravy train rolling with our celebration of Women's History Month for 2026, and with that we decided to break out one of the biggest records within the landscape, the musical soundscape of women's history in general within music, and that album was The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Lauryn Hill. And I was super excited that we were finally able to do that review. I've been always wanting to. I've been kind of I don't want to say chomping at the bit to do that record and do that review with you, but I know it's one that's been on the quote unquote podcast bucket list for me. And a lot of positive vibes about doing that review. The score was, we agreed on the score. That's the only spoiler I'm going to throw out there to the dear listener. But I will say, though, after doing that review, I was meaning to find that record on vinyl, and I've yet to do that. And it's not for the inability to find it. I just haven't been able to take the time to look online and be like, hey, there it is, because it'll probably take me 2 seconds to find it. But I digress, Matthew. What are your thoughts about finally tackling the beefcake of The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Lauryn Hill?
It was, as you said, a very beefy album, and much like you, I'm glad we got to talk about it. Definitely one of the more important records in the history of not just women's history, but R&B history, uh, pop history, and I would even say just overall music history, especially modern music history. So I'm not going to reveal what the score is because, again, if you want to find out, the episode is up. You can listen to it online, and we'll explain how you can do that later on in the episode. But this week, Ryan, we are continuing Women's History Month, and this week it's my turn to pick. And instead of going with country like I did the first time, or R&B and hip hop like we did last week, I decided let's go for some straight up pop music. And I gave you the option to choose between two Disney shows. And between the two options, you chose Lizzie McGuire. And that means that this week we are talking about Hilary Duff, who is Lizzie McGuire, or at least was, and the album called Luck or Something, making it the first time in 2026 we're going to be talking about an album in 2026. We will not be doing the same thing we did in 2025.
Yeah. Well, who knows? I mean, this might be the only album that we end up talking about in the year of our Lord 2026. But I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe like a potential spoiler for the our next review. We do have an option for like covering another 2026 album. But if you choose the correct door or that door, we will do such a review. That's the way it works. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens, man.
It will be very interesting to see what happens, and you have my attention, good sir. But before that, we must get to the review in proper, and we start out by answering a question some of you might be wondering, which is, hold on, what is a Hilary Duff? And to be fair, that is a question that could be very rhetorical based on your age, because if you grew up in the 90s and 2000s, you probably know who Hilary Duff is, but if you're a younger listener of the show or a much older listener of the show, doesn't quite fit in your age range. So let me give you the Cliff Notes version of who one Hilary Duff is. Hilary Duff was born on September 28th, 1987 in the city of Houston, Texas. She is a Texan. So Beyonce, be on watch. Anyways, she starred in several movies as a kid because growing up, she had the voice, she had the talent, and eventually she made her way to the wonderful land of Hollywood. She moved out west from the West and started to get small roles in movies such as Casper Meets Wendy, which was her breakthrough role for her target audience, and Playing by Heart, which very much was not. And then after a couple more movies here or there and a couple of small character roles, in 2001 she lands her first big-time television role, and that, of course, being the titular character on the Disney Channel show Lizzie McGuire. And Lizzie McGuire ran for 3 years. Ran from 2001 through 2004. In that time, she not only released a full-length movie starring herself, entitled The Lizzie McGuire Movie, a movie I have watched on DVD and was one of the first DVDs that me or my brother ever purchased, but she also released her first 2 albums in that time span. And Ryan, do you know what the name of her first album was?
Well, I'm going to be embarrassing myself here. I have no idea what the name of that album was, but I'm going to take a stab at it.
Okay.
I'm going to guess the Lizzie McGuire album.
An educated guess, but unfortunately that is incorrect. And to be completely honest with you, even if you had done your research, I feel like you might have got slipped up, because a lot of people might hear that question and say, oh, it's Metamorphosis. Not true. That is her second full-length album. Her first true album was a Christmas album entitled Santa Claus Lane, making her one of the few artists to kick off her singing career with a Christmas album. So, and the mouth.
Whoa, no. The reason why I made the gasping thing is when I was bringing up the lyrics here. to like prep for the review and like just have on standby for like when we do the track by track analysis here. I remember like starting at the top. I'm like, oh yeah, she did a Christmas album. Okay. Like completely like didn't register that was her actual proper first album. So yeah, kind of a fun moment there for me.
That is fun. That is fun. That is an album I have not listened to. However, I have listened to Metamorphosis, which was her breakthrough mainstream solo album from 2003. And on it are some songs that are very familiar within the Duff canon, such as Come Clean, Why Not, So Yesterday, and lesser tracks that are worth a listen, such as my personal favorite, The Math, just because it sounds like what would happen if Hilary Duff fronted Limp Bizkit and or any of your favorite nu metal bands. But after that, she released her second album, which was self-titled in 2004. And then after that, she sort of took a little bit of a back seat. Like, she was still in the public eye, but she was kind of pigeonholed into this role as the squeaky clean teenager compared to other actresses and singers of that time, such as Avril Lavigne, Lindsay Lohan, if you remember the mid-2000s, and I don't blame you if you don't, but that's the kind of realm we're talking about here. And then in 2007, she releases her album entitled Dignity. She changed her hair color. She became a bit more adult and got into more adult pop. And then, all the while, she's still acting in movies, whether it's a Cinderella story or something like War Inc., which came out a few years after that. She sort of took a hiatus from the spotlight and decided to go into married life, first with a man by the name of Mike Comrie, who, fun fact, used to be a Pittsburgh Penguin. And after divorcing him, I believe in 2016, she then married record producer Matthew Koma, who is still her husband today. And after releasing another album in the mid-2010s, which was, again, a bit more dance-oriented, a bit more adult-themed, takes another hiatus, and for 11 years does not release an album until Luck or Something in 2026. And again, that is the Cliff Notes version of who Hilary Duff is, where she's come from, and how we ended up here. So that's my piece on it, Ryan. What is your experience on Hilary Duff from a personal level before I go into that part?
So, very much like you, I grew up a child of the 90s and primarily my formative years for the late 90s, early 2000s. So, and I also watched Disney Channel, so the Lizzie McGuire show was on a lot. It was a very prominent show at the time, so I knew who she was. And it wasn't until today that I didn't register that she was indeed Wendy in Casper Meets Wendy, because that was that might have been my first proper introduction to her. That's probably my first proper introduction to her. But yeah, outside of that though, outside of her filmography, I mean, I'm aware of the big song that came from her movie, What Dreams Were Made Of, and that's basically it. I knew that she came out with this album at the beginning of the year, and other than that, my wife is a huge fan of her. Her first concert was going to see Hilary Duff live, so yeah. That's about it. I hate to end off my side of the, hey, what's your your relationship with Hilary Duff on the music appreciation level with a dud, but I'm like, meh, she was there.
That's fair. Mine is a little bit deeper, but not much, because again, I was a child of the 90s, and honestly, I didn't really get into Disney Channel until roughly around, I want to say 2002-ish, because that's when I was shifting out of my Nickelodeon phase into my teen phase, which somehow landed on Disney Channel, I guess. So I started watching stuff like Even Stevens, started watching Lizzie McGuire, started watching a bunch of those movies that were very much part of the Disney canon, and probably cut myself off roughly around High School Musical. I want to say like Hannah Montana High School Musical, like that's like the red zone for me. Like I do not go into that zone. I do not recognize that as part of my Disney era. But do remember Hilary Duff being sort of the big thing for the kids. Appreciating her as an actress, appreciating the Lizzie McGuire show, liking the movie, liking that song that you mentioned, which was What Dreams Are Made Of. Need to give that movie another watch one of these days. And then listen to some of those hits. And, again, her being the clean type, especially when you're raised somewhat religiously like I was, she was sort of the champion of, the clean teens. We're the clean teens. That's not what they were called. I'm just coming up with a phrase out of my ass. And the matter of fact is that, as she got older and as her audience got older, there was a bit of a disconnect, but a bit of a mellowing out. So pretty much I sort of fell off with what she was doing for the majority of the late aughts and throughout the 2010s because she really wasn't doing anything. Like, she was one of those names where it got to the point where it was like, oh yeah, Hilary Duff, I remember her, when she appeared on television for some reason or another. And then there started to get a little bit of buzz about a new song coming out because she has a strong following on Instagram, and she's played into this nostalgia of her being a girl of the early internet age, I would say, and somehow decided, okay, I'm a singer, I have a music producer for a husband, why don't we make an album together? And so that's what this is. This is their album Luck or Something. And I'm like, okay, intriguing. And then she released her single Mature back in, I want to say, September, October. I was like, oh, and give that a listen. And then listened to it. And then I listened to it again and started anticipating this album. And then when that came out, I listened to it on the day of, which is not something I do very often. And now that we're in March, I feel it's time to talk about it.
Yeah, man. It is a very appropriate time to talk about it. I mean, I guess it would have been, well, yeah, it's a very appropriate time to talk about it. I have no other words, man. I am just ready to dive on into this album by Hilary Duff, and that album being Luck or Something, released in the year of our Lord 2026. I say we just get the party started here, Matthew. Like, even though the weather outside is not, good for tennis, the opening track is indeed called "Weather for Tennis." And Matthew, I'm gonna let you kick the gravy train out of the gate here, man.
Yes, "Weather for Tennis" is the opening track on Luck or Something, and immediately we get two parts of this album that will rear their heads throughout the entirety of it. And the first is that very soft but solid production from Matthew Coma, who again is Hilary Duff's husband. And it's very pop intensive, it's very pop coded. You get a very heavy use of the synths, you get a very basic drum backbeat, which could be electronic or just electronically processed, we're not sure. But ultimately, it sounds like modern day pop. So that means he has done his homework. Now, whether or not he has copied his homework, we'll discuss later. The other thing we notice very quickly is that, for better or worse, Hilary Duff has definitely listened to some recent Taylor Swift. Like, there is no getting around it. And the reason I have decoded this is that a lot of the opening lines to this song are just stuffed with $1 million words that don't really need to be there. And it's not that the singing is bad. Hilary Duff's voice sounds very good on this track. And it is very much what you expect from Hilary Duff. Very light, very airy, very smooth and gliding compared to a much more militant style like that of someone like a Taylor Swift or even a Charlie XCX, if you will. But the way that the phrasing is going for a lot of the opening lines, and I would say even in the chorus too, are just sort of running into walls and then doing sharp turns out of the walls into other walls. It's just sort of being, $1 million words shoved into a $50,000 stanza. So that alone could have sunk the track for me, because there's a part of me that was just like, she's forcing so much poetry into a space it doesn't need to be in. However, there was one lyrical highlight I had on this track, which is in the pre-chorus where she goes, I'm a kid of divorce, you're a starter of wars, and there's no winning in yours. I really do like that line because it does have the attitude of saying, hey, I'm coming from this territory of fighting and I know what to expect, and I realize that your game is a no-win game for either of us. And that's basically what the song's about, is her addressing her significant other saying, hey, you're going to find something to bitch about, you're going to complain, and you're going to make this miserable for either of us. So, yeah, I'm just going to call you out on it. Which, to be fair, is respectable. And again, the production and the pop production from Matthew Koma is so solid and strong that I'm willing to give this song a pass. Not by much, but enough. So I'm going to put Weather for Tennis in the album track bucket to kick things off. And I'm going to take a page out of your book, Ryan. I'm going to take a page out of your book from 2 weeks ago. I'm not going to reveal what my top anything is until the very end.
Oh, man, ladies and gentlemen, and children of all ages, you see those tables? They just got turned. So, my thoughts about Weather for Tennis, I think they kind of echo a lot of what you were saying, but I'm gonna, do a different spin on it, because, I think at the end of the day, with Weather for Tennis, it's in that mid-track range for me. It's not bad, but there's nothing really about it that makes it stand out. And there's not one thing that I could say, hey, that's good. What I will say that could have been the good thing about it is the melody in the chorus is pretty fun and pretty memorable. What you took issue in with the $1 million words fitting into a dollar stanza, I know, not verbatim, but I actually found that to be kind of a fun little rhythm that she was doing there. But I understand your critique, and it is well noted. But I felt overall though, this song was a pretty okay way to start off the album with. You get a good taste of what Hilary's bringing to the table here with Weather for Tennis. If you turn on this track here and you don't like it, cool, you can turn off the album. But if you're hey, yeah, this is okay, you can go through the rest of the album. But with this track here, you get fun instrumentals and that solid melody that I was mentioning, and those instrumentals, you were kind of hinting at them having pop elements and electronic elements as well. I identified the overall instrumentation to be electro-pop, and that's what a lot of pop music is nowadays. A la what Taylor Swift is doing nowadays, a la what Billie Eilish is doing nowadays, a la what Charlie XCX is doing nowadays. So it's very much of the scene, and even going outside the realm of women, Harry Styles is doing that this style nowadays. So I did enjoy what was going on in the bridge here with the synth. I thought there was an interesting synth noise going on in there. I did enjoy Hilary's vocals, to a decent extent. They get the job done. They're not really overpowering or anything. I think with this track here, I was more kind of taken back by the lyric writing, because I actually felt the lyric writing was pretty good. I know that you had your critiques, but I did not mind the $1 million words on there. And also the rhythm that she was executing there. It's just a fun, kind of vocal line that she's doing here. The lyrics as a whole depict a song about being, about growth and relationships. You can tell, like, with this song here, there's several moments where it seems like there's a couple that's like, going through like turmoil, like where they're fighting and everything like that. You kind of illustrated like some points of that, but my lyrical highlight though that I'm gonna throw out the listener and you as well is found in the chorus where she's singing the fastest antibiotic for thinking. That is just like kind of like a backhanded insult there, and I did very much like that. But yeah, my overall thoughts about Weather for Tennis, pretty good track, but nothing that really made it stand out for one reason or another, and like it's fine. So that's why I'm putting in the mid song bucket. But unlike you, I will reveal my full hand right here, right now, because I think that would be a fun, dynamic for the rest of the review. In that, with Luck or Something, I have a top 3 and a bottom 1.
Fair enough. And even though, like you said, this song goes in the mid-song bucket, it does feel like you're a hair higher on it than me. And to be fair, I don't hate this song. Like, this, as I've said a billion times, we'll say a billion more as long as this podcast exists. This falls in that category of, if you're not paying attention, it sounds great. It sounds wonderful. Like, it sounds like a decent, good old pop tune. It's just that I listen in and I'm just like, I wouldn't have done that. I would have done that. But again, I'm not the one making millions of dollars on this. And perhaps Matthew Combs is, and perhaps Hilary Duff is. So goes to show what I know, goes to show what any critique knows. But continuing on with our criticism and or enjoyment, Ryan, I will throw it to you for the next track off of Luck or Something, and that is Roommates.
So, with Roommates, the second single that was released for this LP here, it's funny that you were talking about, you use your old adage of hey, if you aren't paying attention, it's okay. But my thoughts about Roommates are, this song vibes pretty well if you aren't paying attention. But, oh man, if you aren't paying attention, the thing that struck me most about this song here is the lyrics. Like, this song, distilled down to its core, it's talking about the disintegration of a relationship going from a sexual one into a non-sexual one. And in several spots here, I had to do a double take here on what was going on, because there's just there are some steamy lyrics here. There's lines about her pleasing herself by the front door, but you don't even look my way no more. And I was just like, oh wait, Hilary Duff, the same Hilary Duff is singing this? Oh, okay, cool. But despite all the steamy lyrics, the lyrical highlight that I had with Roommates actually was found in verse 2, and it reads, maybe like the stars at noon, you won't come out until you're ready, but here I am telling you, don't put off the night too long. So distilling the meaning of that lyric down, it's basically saying this person that she's in a relationship with, but it's essentially an asexual one at this point, is, hey, this person only wants to engage when they're ready, but she's basically kind of encouraging, hey, yeah, don't wait too long because I might go bye-bye. So yeah, that was that the lyrics really did carry the song a good bit. But outside of the lyrical content, the chorus had a pretty interesting rhythm. But honestly, I kind of dig it. It's not a very usual kind of cadence for a chorus, but it was pretty fun. The instrumentals accompanying it were pretty fun. Very much still in that electro-pop lane. Duff's vocals are pretty solid. Again, It's very much getting the job done. The lyrics are doing a lot of the heavy lifting here. But honestly, outside of those like couple notes, like songs like, basically an elevation of Weather for Tennis. So I'm putting Roommates in the good song bucket.
First, I will start with your reaction to the lyrics because I had the same exact reaction. So, as I mentioned earlier, I follow Hilary Duff on Instagram, and she previewed this song with the chorus. Like, she previewed the single coming out by putting the chorus and her dancing to it on Instagram, and everyone was just like, "Excuse me?" Like, I know it's been 20 years since, the Lizzie McGuire era, and we already know she's done adult stuff because you look at a video like With Love, and she's had kids, so she knows what sex is. But for her to be saying this out loud and as steamy as it is, like the part about the dive bar, like, man, like, holy crap. Like, this is Hilary Duff saying this, and it still has some sort of shock value to it all these years later. Your point about it being an asexual relationship, I don't agree with. Only because at the end of the second chorus, she switches it from touching myself by the front door to touching yourself to porn because you don't look my way no more. So I think that this guy wants sex. It may just not be from her. So I think it's less of a asexualness and just I think we should see other people dynamic. But that's just apples and oranges and insight. That being said, I agree with you that her voice does in fact get the job done, and the haphazardness of the pre-chorus and the chorus are similar to Weather for Tennis, but here I like it just because it has a lot more power behind it, and it has a bit more of a structure to it. Like in Weather for Tennis, it felt like lines were going into the next line and overstaying their welcome. Here it feels like everything is executed as it's supposed to be. And one other thing about the production, which is very good, it is once again proof that not only has Hilary Duff, but Matthew Coma have been listening to some Taylor Swift because, and I'm not the first person to say this because I read the Pitchfork review from Olivia Horn. It's her. Hi. She's the problem. It's her. The beat is such, like, almost a direct ripoff of Anti-Hero that it's honestly shocking I didn't hear it sooner, but as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh yeah, that's Anti-Hero. Okay. But that being said, I like Anti-Hero. It's one of Taylor Swift's better songs, in my opinion. And for Roommates, it works very well. It has a very just sort of powerful, strong pop presence that I could see why this was released as a single. Is it one of the strongest songs of the album? Personally, I don't think so, but much like you, I am putting Roommates in the good song bucket.
All right, man. I'm interested to see like how the rest of the review here is going to go. It's primarily because, like, I feel like so far I might be, I don't know, a hair higher on the tracks than you, but we're putting the songs in the appropriate buckets. Well, not the appropriate buckets, the same buckets, for better or for worse. But you have been like Mr. Sneaky Sneak in terms of like, I'm not going to reveal my hand yet. So I'm interested. Are we going to see Spicy Matt here later on? I don't know. But in terms of just like, moving forward for the sake of moving forward for progress, we must progress into the next track here. And we must talk about it. We must talk about the song that is indeed called "We Don't Talk." Matthew, why don't you do some talking about it?
Yes, I will talk about "We Don't Talk," as lovely as that is to say out loud. So this song, once again, starts with just a very nice synth line and nice solid beat from Coma, and it is, again, to note that he has done his homework here. He has done his homework. He has understood what it takes to make solid, strong electro-pop in the year of 2026. And once again, Hilary Duff's vocals are solid. They are strong. I would say this is... I would say it's either up there with Roommates or slightly surpasses Roommates, but maybe not. The point being, her voice is good. Lyrically, this song is about her disconnect, and pretty much all sources possibly including Hilary Duff herself, have decried this as a disconnect with her twin sister Haley, who has very much just stopped talking to her. They don't catch up anymore, whether it's through any sort of vitriol or just a pure fading out. That's for them to fully disclose. But yeah, that's basically what this song's about, saying, hey, we don't talk anymore, and I'd love to tell everybody else how we're doing, but I don't know how we're doing because we're not doing anything. Couple things I noticed about this track in the chorus, when she goes, we don't talk about it, I'm thinking, okay, someone's been listening to a little Charlie XCX. I can appreciate that. Because anytime I hear talk in modern times, that's a song I think of, and that song's currently part of my driving playlist, is that, which is it's just such a good deep cut off of Brat. Go check out that review if you haven't yet. And I talked about Matthew Coma doing his homework, and I alluded to the fact earlier he may have been ripping off some homework. I talked about Anti-Hero, the last song, and this song, I will give him credit. I didn't realize it until the third time, but if you listen on the chorus or the post-chorus and you hear those little bloopity bloops, I'm thinking, really? You're going to rip off somebody that I used to know that blatantly, dude? Come on. Like, the fact that it took me 3 times, like, okay, fine, you got me. But the fact of the matter is, like, once I heard it, I was just like, oh, honey, no. No, you're not slipping that one by me. And it feels weird because that song is, as of 2026, 14 years old at least. But even then, there was a song last year that sampled it. And it wasn't from last year, it was from 2020, but it got big last year, which is when this album would have been developed. And I'm just thinking, man, like, I mean, I'm glad you listen to Top 40 Radio, dude, but man, I hope you have good lawyers. That being said, I do like this song. I don't like it enough to give it anything other than a good song bucket category, though. I kind of want to like it more, but after you kind of get the chorus where, again, Duff sings good and you get the basic premise of it, you kind of get left just understanding what the song is, and then that's kind of that. So, actually, I take that back. I'm going to elevate it a little higher. I'm going to put this in the great song bucket. So, because I think the subject matter is strong enough that it does set a precedent for the historical context of where Duff is coming from. But I wouldn't go as far as putting it in like cut track territory or in my top 3. So I'm gonna go a little higher than good song bucket and go great song bucket.
Yeah, it's interesting that you clocked the whole somebody that I used to know thing. I picked it up as well, and I kind of looked it up, because there's another song coming up here relatively shortly that, kind of interpolates a very well-known cadence for us millennials out there. But when we get to that song, we will get to that song. But here, as far as I can tell, there was no songwriting credit given to Gautier here. So that's interesting. But yeah, it's funny that you were mentioning that the bloops in the chorus really kind of, like after the chorus, really signaled to you that this was a interpolation or the kind of like a little bit of a sampling of somebody that used to know by Gautier, because I kind of picked that up in the verses, honestly, with like the way that the flow was constructed and just the way that it was like going on. So yeah, I found that to be interesting and everything like that. Outside of the interpolation, though, about somebody that I used to know, I'm not gonna lie, this song was fun for me. And the main thing, again, I'm a huge fan of Gautier, and somebody that I used to know is a really good song, and it's one of my favorite songs of the year in retrospect. But this song here, it really does it. It really takes the cake for me, man. Like, the chorus is just so different. Yes, you get that Charlie X kind of XCX inspiration there with talk there, but the way that the melody is incorporated into the chorus, it's just so different but so tight, and it's the main highlight for me I'm not gonna lie, it's just so good. I just love how Hilary's vocals are just doing the melody and keeping everything so tight, and how everything is just so layered. Like, I thought that was pretty good. And the outro I found to be pretty solid with how the vocals got distorted. So I thought that was a pretty good touch. The lyrical highlight here, because I'm not going to really dive into the song's meaning, because you did an excellent job already diving into that. But my lyrical highlight is actually kind of in the pre-chorus, in the two pre-choruses here, kind of like expanding upon that theme of like the friction that her and her sister are like going through. In the first pre-chorus, you get the lyric, a different combination but the same lock. The second pre-chorus, you get a different explanation of the same thought. I thought that was pretty cool. But overall, though, with We Don't Talk, it's definitely highlighted off the record for me. You know, so much so that we have arrived, everybody, to a top track territory for Ryan James Kearns. And where am I putting We Don't Talk? Well, I think it's appropriate for me to put We Don't Talk as my third favorite track off the whole record.
Mad respect. Mad respect. I very much appreciate that. Again, I feel like this is one of those songs where you catch me on another day, it could creep up into my top three. Didn't quite make the cut this time just because I felt like for as big as it wanted to be, I thought it could have been a little bigger. But again, this is a great song. This is very much a song that is necessary, and this is a song that deserves its pantheon again, not just as providing context for Hilary's relationship with her sister, but also, again, just a proof that she could sing about it, be comfortable with it, and make some very, very good music with her husband providing some strong, if slightly plagiarized, production. So that's my final thought on We Don't Talk. So Ryan, I will throw it to you for the next track, which is Future Tripping.
As opposed to Past Tripping, which is what I did, earlier on, like this evening while I was walking my dogs. But that's a story not for today. What we're talking about right now is Future Tripping. But yeah, with Future Tripping here, we get a song where Hilary is really trying to embody the anxieties about worrying about the future, and it's I don't know, for those of you who have ever had an anxious thought ever, you probably can really relate to that. Even though the whole song is littered with countless examples of bars about worrying about the future. Literally in a verse, she's addressing her future self in 2028, which I found to be a clever section. But can you guess what bar really got me going?
Ooh, I can't think of it right now. I give.
So I very, very much enjoyed the Bon Iver line. Whenever she's at the end of that actual verse that the second verse that I was talking about, where she's addressing her future self, she's talking about some person at a bar who's singing she loves Bon Iver, but she calls him Bon Ivar, and she kind of laughs at that. I felt like that to be fun and playful, and I'm always a fan of that. And also, to be fair, well, in 2028, you should probably know how to pronounce Bon Iver. So yeah, I digress. Anyways, moving off of that section though, the chorus is a solid good time. I especially enjoy when you get the moment halfway through where you get a slight skip in the track, and that, for those of you who are longtime fans of the show, Matthew can attest to this. Whenever I hear a slight skip within the track, it's a Ryan Kearns musical kink through and through. So my hat's off to her for that. Overall, though, the electro-pop vibes are still strong on this one. I really enjoyed the sense of the chorus, and you really get some good, decent chords in the verse too. So yeah, overall though, with Future Tripping, it's a fun, groovy song. I'm putting it in the good song bucket at the end of the day. Like, maybe Catch Me on a Different Day. This could perhaps pop up into a cut track territory, but it's a good song, man.
So the first thing I noticed about Future Tripping is that the beat and the synths are very, very, very good. And I noticed that it felt familiar, but I couldn't pinpoint it. Like with the last two songs, I was able to pinpoint, oh, this is the drum beat from Anti-Hero. Oh, this is the weird synth bloops from somebody that I used to know. Here, it felt like it was familiar, but I had no idea where I had heard it before. Possibly Madonna's song, or ABBA, or a Taylor Swift song I have yet to hear in my life. I don't know, but it definitely had that air of familiarity without the feeling of, oh, I know exactly what you're doing. It's, I know what you're doing, but not exactly what you're doing. And what else they do on this track, I did love that Bon Iver line. I'm kicking myself for not remembering it for the sake of our discussion, because that's like, every time I hear it, it's like, oh, Ryan's going to either love that line or hate it, and I'm glad to hear that you love it. And you talk about the chorus being playful and strong. I wholeheartedly agree. It just has this nice, very upbeat feel to it that very much echoes just the kind of dance pop that signifies the Southern California sound, not just now, but throughout history. And Hilary Duff's voice, it's kind of, I wouldn't say buried in the mix, but it fits just enough of the mix that it's being carried by the melody, which is, again, very, very strong. And her voice, it's not super powerful, but it does the job once again. And it's not struggling or fussing by any means. Like, she's not struggling with any notes. She's not belting it like a Celine Dion, but she's getting the job done. She's following the melody. The melody is strong. And the production from Matthew Coma is the highlight of this track because, again, it just is a solid, strong dance pop tune. So, yeah, I very much appreciated that. I appreciated the discussion of anxiety in the lyrics, but the playfulness of it. And it is my turn to dive into my top three. And this track does land at number 3.
Oh, man. I kind of figured that was going to be the case. I also got some slight anxieties. To steal a page from Hilary Duff's, playbook here, whenever you were like, yeah, I'm gonna hold my cards close to my chest here in terms of my gamut for luck or something. I was just like, I did some future tripping there. I was just like, oh no, what's Matt gonna rate this album here? Is he gonna rage out? But I'm glad that you at least have a top 3. So yeah, cool. It would have been weird with all the praise that you were giving the track for you to be like, good song bucket. So
yeah,
but yeah, yeah, man.
Yeah, no, I think it was, again, just it's such a strong melody and just a solid pop song that it's there aren't a whole lot of melodies that I could get stuck in my head, but after repeated listens, I was just like, you know what, this one I like this one quite a bit. So yeah, Future Tripping, good stuff.
So, speaking about melodies that are going to get stuck in your head for one reason or another, Matthew, why don't you take the next track here, which is indeed Growing Up.
Growing Up. And first thing I notice, and I didn't really notice it, what it reminded me of until today when I listened to the album for the last time before our discussion, it definitely has a very upbeat type of synth pop feel. It's not upbeat like a Mickey or Shake It Off or a Girlfriend, but it definitely has that very fast pace to it. And it kind of reminded me of something off of Sabrina Carpenter's Short and Sweet, particularly a song like I'm trying to think what the track is. It's the one after Good Graces, which has that sort of indie feel. This has an indie pop feel to it, is what I'm trying to get at, similar to what I heard off of Short and Sweet. I also noticed in the opening line, she talks about having orange wine. I'm sorry. I'm like, what? Is that a thing? Orange wine? That doesn't sound very good. It sounds like something you would get at a record store because it's in the weird food section. But yeah, like I heard that, I was like, okay, orange wine's a thing now, I guess. But basically, this song is just about how Hilary's catching up with one of her friends, and they're talking about smack about people like they used to do, when they were teenagers in high school, and all the gossip was all the rage. And then at the end of the day, guess what? You got to go back to being adults, raising kids, paying taxes, and washing cars, and fixing lights. And as they say in the chorus, I guess this is growing up. And we have now evolved from blatantly ripping off other songs to actually using material from other songs and giving them credit for it. So, much improved, guys. For those who don't know, this track samples the chorus to the song Damn It by Blink-182. And all jokes aside, it is a very good use of this chorus to sort of flip the 90s generation on its head, because now we're in a much more mellow time and a much more mellow ideology. And yeah, I guess this is growing up. It's not super big or angsty or, punching of drywall. It just is what it is. And there's a bit of a melancholy tinge to it, but a bit of a realization of, well, we made it. This is where we wanted to be, so here we are. And it is a very, very nice play on it. But ultimately, though, much like I had the issue with We Don't Talk, once you kind of get what you're getting, it doesn't really elevate itself to give you more. So as much as I like Growing Up, and as much as I like Hilary Duff paying homage to Blink-182, I'm going to stop myself short and put Growing Up in the great song bucket. Like, I'm not going to throw it in cut track territory, but definitely a song I would put in great song bucket.
So, for me, and I first of all, like, I'm glad that you eventually got to the interpolation of the chorus of Damn It, because I thought that you might have, like, breezed past it. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. I was about to jump through the phone and, like, shave your beard. I would have been so angry.
Thank you, Jesse and Steve, for playing at MGN. Your diligence is noted.
But I'll get to the chorus when I get to the chorus. But I'm going to start outside of the chorus. Just the... a couple things that I did enjoy outside of it. Like, the whole song grooves pretty well. You get a light feel to it, but it works. The faint guitar lines and the drum beat works well to, like, accompany, like, Hilary's voice. And a lyrical highlight that I had here, which kind of, I don't know, for better for worse, for whenever somebody could take from this this analysis here, like, it kind of hit home a little bit, where whenever she's singing, how do you stay on your family's side when no one shows and nobody cares? Like, I was just like, oh, preach, sister, preach. So I thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'm not even gonna front, dude. Like, the chorus just blew me away. And it might have been because of the fact that, like, I am a Blink-182 fan, and also, like, I'm a kid of the, like, when I grew up, like, we grew up same time, so, like, the combination of Hilary Duff doing an interpolation of Damn It by Blink-182, and Hilary Duff herself doing it, like, was the ultimate, like, mashup that millennials didn't ask for, but apparently needed. So, yeah, it's just so cool. And I was very, very, very happy to hear that Blink got songwriting credits for it, because with instances like this where you have one artist kind of, like, lifting a rhythm and interpolating like a section of the song into their own song. I mean, another example that I can draw from this is when Olivia Rodrigo gave songwriting credits to Paramore for her song "Good for You" because it basically kind of like follows the same kind of formula as like "Misery Business." So yeah, I'm always a fan of that, and I feel like I don't know, it might be a little bit of a spicy take here. More artists need to like be okay giving songwriting credits and like kind of experimenting with music like that because it creates some really, really wonderful art. But yeah, just everything with the chorus, it's just so good. The beat is good, and I very much enjoy like the like chord hits that you get within the chorus itself. The only other thing I gotta say about growing up here is, dude, like I'm not even gonna front. I'm not even gonna lie. It's my favorite track off the whole record.
Okay. All right. I had a slight wondering if that was going to be the case because, again, this is a great song and it is a very nice performance from Hilary Duff. Again, flipping the entire philosophy of the millennial generation on its head by taking this hard punk song and softening it up for, like I said, a much more mellow presence. And again, I like it too. I couldn't push myself to it to beat out any of the other songs in my top three. But it's close. It's close. And I very much appreciate that you like this song enough to put it as your numero uno track.
Yeah, I mean, there's another track coming up here relatively shortly that in retrospect, I could have put as my favorite track, but when we get to that very mature track, we'll get to it. I mean, spoiler alert there, as you might allude. But let me kick it into the final track off of side A of the record. With that being, I don't even know like this is technically like I think I should look into like vinyl releases like officially. I don't know if this record's on vinyl or not. I imagine it is. Enough vamping.
It is for a fact.
Oh, okay, cool.
I don't know if this is
if this is the last.
I don't know that part. I do not know if it's the end of side A, but I do know that's on vinyl because I've considered it, but I don't have that kind of wherewithal right now to get that.
Fair enough, man. But enough jibber jabber. Let's get at her. Let's finish off side A of at least our review here of Luck or Something by Hilary Duff. In that, talking about the Optimist. And yeah, this was a song for me that was very interesting because a lot of the tracks that we get throughout this LP are electro-pop coded for one reason or another, and like you get like a lot of like kind of upbeat production, but here things are dark, my friend. Things are pretty haunting, and the reason why they're haunting is Hilary's talking about her dad. Yeah, parental issues. But yeah, I thought the song here lyrically is pretty much fire. There's several moments where the lyrics really do pay really like do a lot of heavy lifting within the track. Specifically within verse 2, you get the bars where she's singing to let go of eye contact and which bottles made you feel most immune. And after that, the music gets dark and murky. Like, I'm always a fan of music whenever they do like a literal like sonic painting of what the lyrics are describing. So like chef's kiss, that's a good moment there. Another moment lyrically that I did enjoy, this was my lyrical highlight off the whole track, was I was an emotional architect who knew your dimensions more than you. I learned which way you turned your back. And like again, this is Hilary's like idiot wind to her dad, and to say that she was the emotional architect who knew her dad's dimensions more than he knew his own, and which way he turned his back. Like, oh my god, that's pretty biting. That's a pretty biting bar there. But outside of the lyrics, gonna zoom into Hilary herself. Her performance is pretty great here. I will say, I'm just gonna call a spade a spade. Like, I felt like she got a little pitchy at the start during the first chorus, but it was literally just one moment within the track that I took issue with. But otherwise, like, she was pretty much on point there. And the overall production of the track I found to be pretty minimal, but it works well with given the context of the song. Like, you get understated guitar lines and hand claps, like within this kind of the song here. I thought that was pretty interesting and an interesting way to drive like the song's momentum. But yeah, I'm putting The Optimist. It was hard because with my third favorite track being We Don't Talk in this here, it came down to the fact that the chorus with We Don't Talk was a lot of fun, and I very much enjoyed that. And with The Optimist, Hilary did get pitchy at the start, so I'm putting The Optimist in cut track territory for me.
So, my thoughts on The Optimist are, I'll start with the fact that you're right, this is a song about her relationship with her dad. It is very strained, and for the music to match the strained ideology that she is pushing through the lyrics, I thought was a smart decision. I thought it was proper to have a much more stripped back instrumental to compare to these dark lyrics. That being said, I don't have a very small bell on me, so listener, if you have a small bell with you, I would consider ringing it now, because even though Ryan is not placing this in his top 3, this is slightly going into the territory of Fight O'Clock. So why is this my least favorite song on the whole album? Well, as Ryan throws his glasses off in disbelief. First of all, again, the $1 million words at the start threw me off. Like, this is Hilary trying to be as capital P poetic as she possibly can. Which, again, it's not the worst thing in the world, but at the same time, it just feels a little forced, especially on the phrasing on the choruses again. And while I agree that the acoustic, more sparse indie folk backing, it was a smart move, the problem is that, like you said, Ryan, and I do agree with you, her voice does get pitchy at times on this track, and overall, as we've talked about, her voice is a little thin, which for upbeat electro dance pop works perfectly, but in a setting like this, I just felt like putting the whole spotlight on her was not necessarily a strong decision. And I also am not the biggest fan of Coma's production on this track, because to me it can't decide if it wants to be completely sparse or go into some full like folk chamber pop type of mode. Like, it sort of switches between orchestral or semi-orchestral to very sparse. And the last complaint I have about this track in particular is that the phrasing towards the end of every stanza feels like it just kind of fades into a dud, like fades into some sort of whisper. Like, it doesn't have the emotional punch that I would want to have. And granted, maybe that's to echo the straininess zapping you of your energy, and I can understand that. But this is one of those tracks where the weaknesses of it are so strong, ironically speaking, that I couldn't quite give it a pass. Is it the worst thing I've ever heard? Absolutely not. But in the context of this album, I just can't really give it a pass. So yeah, The Optimist, unfortunately, is my least favorite track on the album.
What is the worst thing you ever heard?
You know, it's funny. I was thinking about that a little earlier, because when I got home before we started recording, I was scrolling through Blue Sky, and someone had a post that said, "Screw your record that you would take on a deserted island. What is your Guantanamo Bay song? What is your song that they would use to torture you into confessing?" And I was like, that's actually a very good question. I don't know what song that would be. But for the sake of this review, I can tell you for sure it's not The Optimist. It's the weakest one on this album, but definitely nowhere near the worst song we've covered on this show, or the worst song I've ever heard.
Oh man, maybe that could be a future episode idea. What are our Guantanamo Bay songs out there? But anyways, I digress. An interesting concept, but I mean, I get it, man. I get it, and like your issues with like the verses that kind of ended like a little haphazardly. Like I did earmark that, but I don't know. Like I didn't really hate it. I was willing to give it a pass, but ultimately though, like I think that might have like been another reason why the track was held back from being a potential like top track for me. But as I stated in my dissection about it, the chorus with "We Don't Talk" was a lot more powerful, and there was an pitchiness whatsoever. So it clearly earned that third favorite track spot. But speaking about music and favorite stuff, Matthew, I have a question for you.
And what is that question, good sir?
You know, the dear listener out there is just enjoying our discussion of Like or Something by Hilary Duff, and like, you know, really wants to like, you know, show some appreciation for what we do here on a week in, week out basis. What are some ways that they could do such things and help us, like, you know, continue on doing what we do here on Hey Listen to This? And in addition to all that, what are other ways that they can maybe get some, like, you know, listener requests in and connect with us on other platforms?
Well, I will try to answer that question or those questions the best I can. First of all, if you like what you are listening to and you want to listen to more, we release episodes every week on all of our platforms, whether it be Pocket Cast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or if you like to use YouTube for your podcast, where we upload our videos to YouTube every week. You won't see our faces, but you will hear our thoughts. So again, we are on YouTube, Pocket Cast, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. Pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts is where you will find us. And if you're on any of those platforms and you like what you hear, feel free to please the algorithmic gods with a 5-star rating, or if you're on YouTube, the old adage, like, comment, and subscribe. And if you are listening and you're thinking to yourself, okay, I like what I'm hearing. I like what these dudes are saying, but I don't know who else would. Fear not, because we are on social media as well, where you can share with anyone and everyone. We are on Facebook, we are on Threads, we are on Instagram, we are on Blue Sky, and if you're looking for us on there, you can either type in the name of our show, which is Hey Listen to This, or if you type in our username ttheylisten, you will be able to find us that way too. Also, if you are on YouTube, that is a way to find us as well, is to say ttheylisten. And speaking of the username ttheylisten, if you want to reach out to us directly, but you do not know us directly, we have an email address that you can contact us at. That is ttheylisten@gmail.com. Again, that is ttheylisten@gmail.com if you want to give us some direct feedback, some extended words, or if you perhaps want to recommend a future album for us, because we have done listener requests in the past, and we would love to do them again. So again, that is ttheylisten@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and Blue Sky. You can listen to us wherever podcasts are available, whether that is Pocket Cast, Apple Podcast, Spotify, or YouTube. And as always, for those of you who have done that so far throughout this 100 plus journey of Hey Listen to This, thank you. Again, we're just two dudes who love to talk about music. We're not part of any major podcast network. We don't sell pills, we don't sell massagers, we don't sell insurance, we don't sell food. We're just two dudes who like to talk about music. And for one dude who likes to talk about music to another, Ryan, thank you as always for being a great co-host, for putting up with my shenanigans, and for bringing some well-needed expertise and counter to the table.
And the compliment goes right back at you, good sir. I always enjoy our musical journeys for one reason or another, even though like sometimes we might have 5 o'clock city moments, or we are going hand in hand to be like, no, this is the best track off of the record, or this album is indeed a unanimous 10 out of 10. Like, it's always fun, it's always a great time. And considering in today's day and age, with how easy it is to doom scroll or just lose your mind on the Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever social media algorithm that you can throw at the dear listener out there. I very much appreciate the deliberate focus that this project has brought to, at least my life, and I know yours as well. And also, on behalf of me and Matthew, dear, thank you, dear listener out there. Hopefully, you enjoy what we're bringing here to the table. At the very least, giving you the chance to think about music on a deeper level. But think about music on a deeper level, Matthew. We have to figure out if Hilary Duff's success is based off of luck or something, and we're over halfway there. And we're currently living on a prayer, but we have to, keep on keeping on here. We don't want to give love a bad name, so why don't you kick off side B of this review here by talking about You from the Honeymoon?
Yes, You from the Honeymoon, the next track off of Slippery When Wet. Luck or Something. And, this one, again, started on the wrong foot for me because we go back to the thesaurus for this opening lines where it feels like, again, she's using million-dollar words and saying things that don't need to be, exploited. But once we get past that, it actually turns out to be a pretty solid track. I doubt that this was recorded after Taylor Swift released The Fate of Ophelia, but I do hear similarities between the two tracks. Maybe it's just the key mixed with the capital W words. But at the same time, I do like the whole overall vibe of this song where she's talking about, once again, much like she did in Roommates, this notion of a guy, a significant other, and how he used to be back when they were on the honeymoon, and now all of a sudden things are no longer that way. Things are no longer like they are in paradise, like as she calls it, Japanese house. And I will say that the lyrics do get a little dark here because I was listening to it and I was like, hold on. Did she just say a hand slap across the face? Like, again, is Hilary Duff saying this? Is this something I'm hearing properly? Okay. So we're going there. But aside from that, Coma's production is solid. I did like it quite a bit. It definitely had a very upbeat dance move. And Hilary Duff's vocals, once again, are very good. Especially the way that she shifts with the key changes on the chorus, I thought were rather striking. But ultimately, though, I would probably put this song... I don't know. I'm thinking this song might go in the mid-song bucket because I think I like it a little bit more than Weather for Tennis, but I don't like it quite as much as a Roommates or any couple other tracks we got coming up here. So, You from the Honeymoon, it's solid.
So, I'm going to disagree with you on a couple different levels here with You from the Honeymoon. First of all, I didn't catch the hand slap across the face bar, so... yeah, shout out to you for identifying that. That might have been, I don't know, changed my opinion about the track as a whole. But, yeah, this song here, it's a bit of a miss. It's a bit of a miss, and just there's several things about it that I don't really care for. Like, the way it starts out with... Hilary's weird distorted vocals was a bit of a turnoff for me. And if I'm not mistaken, you also said, it's kind of started out on the wrong foot. So that might have been the thing that you were trying to identify there. But, yeah, the other thing that I want to highlight here. So we're officially 7 tracks in. The chorus here reminded me of other choruses off the album so far. And honestly, that's a bit lazy. I know there's only so much, inspiration that you can take with, electro-pop and, the elements as a whole. But I could be looking at the albums with rose-colored glasses, but The Life of a Showgirl and Brat by Charlie XCX, each song was unique and different. There wasn't any, hey, let's kind of rehash the whole thing and maybe people won't be noticing. But I definitely kind of noticed. And... Also, the lyrics in the chorus are like I don't know what's going on here, dude. Like you mentioned about the Japanese house thing. I don't get the connection between let's drink too much, put on the Japanese house. Like not put on Japanese house, put on the Japanese house. Like are you drinking so much that you're putting on a Japanese house? Like, are you wearing a Japanese house? Like, what's going on here, dude? I might be looking at it from a little bit of a critical lens, and you also might be like, oh, hey, we're so drunk, we'll put on the Japanese house. But whatever. I digress. And also a line that kind of bothered me in the pre-chorus was casual smokers, spiritual feathers. What? What is that supposed to mean? Like, are you trying to do like the hashtag rap, trope that I specifically do not care for? Because if you do, you're doing it even worse than it's already like designed to be. Oh my goodness. And also as a whole, the production of the whole track is just too weak and awkward for my liking. Like, I know what they're trying to go for with this song here in terms of production. Like, you're very much trying to go for the lo-fi girl effect. Like, for those of you who aren't aware of what I'm talking about, go on YouTube, type in lo-fi girl, click the first result, you know what I'm talking about there. But yeah, and also like the other thing that we'll say about the track though, before I give my official ranking of this track, because you probably know where it's gonna land.
Yeah,
is I very much do appreciate the concept of the song, with it trying to call back to a former state of a relationship. Like she's trying to rekindle the state of this person from their honeymoon, like the highest moment of their love. But for me, this is not the highest moment on the album. It is indeed the lowest moment on the whole album for me, in that You From the Honeymoon is my least favorite track off the whole record.
I completely understand that. I had forgotten about that line in the pre-chorus. Just very much, again, I talk about the capital W words. That was that to me. Like, that was you trying to say something without actually saying something. It's just like, these are words that I can sing out loud. It's like, good for you. But to me, I guess I felt the chorus was solid enough. There was one line, you mentioned it now, that I did remember kind of liking. I didn't pick it up until today. The part where she says, teach your hands where they can touch me. I thought that line was pretty good and pretty sexy. But aside from that, this is again falls in the category of not paying attention. It's fine. But there are moments where it does force you to pay attention. You're just kind of like, eh. So mid-song bucket it is for me. And I completely understand why you threw it at the bottom.
Yeah, and I think the reason why I put it at the bottom at the end of the review is basically for the fact that kind of a combination of your critical analysis on different tracks and how they're structured, and just my overall appreciation about music as a whole. So yeah, but for lack of a better segue, let's go into the holiday party here, because it's past St. Paddy's Day. What's the next holiday coming up? I think it might be the 4th of July. I could. Oh no, wait. Hey, Mother's Day. No, Easter. Easter. Oh,
nice. Nice. I very much appreciate that.
But yeah, my overall thoughts about Holiday Party. You're really getting back into a track that's really leaning into the electro-pop elements. Song's decent enough. Honestly, the chorus was probably the highlight for me. And in that, you get production that complements the height and emotion of the track here, and that height and emotion, for those of you who haven't listened to the song yet, is very much trying to embody the anxiety of, hey, I know that you're not true at the holiday party. I'm imagining this in my head, but I'm also apologizing for imagining this because I know that I love you and I'm sorry for being crazy. So that's basically what the song is as a whole. For those of you who want to know what the song is basically as a whole, just go into verse 1, where the beginning of the track, where she's saying, "In my head, you live another life where you fuck all my friends and wish somebody else could have been your wife." I'm sorry. I'm sorry for letting it get the best of me again. I'm too emotional, I guess. Like, that's basically the crux of the whole song right there. However, Hillary's performance within that is pretty solid here. You can kind of taste the emotion, but not so much. And I would say, just as a whole, with this whole album, Hillary's vocals, they get the job done, but there's not a moment where she's wowing me. Like, I'm not like, oh my god. I think her strengths are specifically within her lyric writing and the melody that she's bringing towards choruses. So, but getting into more nuts and bolts about Holiday Party here, I enjoyed the bridge with how Hillary's voice did get distorted, giving us almost kind of an industrial kind of feel within this kind of track here. And that I thought that was kind of unique, kind of fun. But I'm walking away with Holiday Party kind of honestly putting it in the mid-song bucket. Like, honestly, I probably should put it in the good song bucket. So I'm changing my opinion right now. It's going in the good song bucket. But, yeah, it's a good enough track, man.
Yeah, my thoughts about Holiday Party pretty much mirror yours. First of all, the first couple times I listened to the song, it got off on the wrong foot for me again, but realistically, I think that was just the processed vocals were a bit of a shock to the jolt for me at the beginning. Because when you talk about those opening lines and she goes, I'm sorry, it has that weird vocal effect. But okay, that's a low process, but it's not that bad. But then you get to a very good drum beat from Matthew Koma, who produced this very, very strongly. And then you get the meat of this song, which, like you said, Ryan, is pretty much just Hilary Duff saying, this used to be so hot. This used to be such a hot, steamy romance. What the hell happened? And I feel like this falls into two categories throughout the whole album, which is either it used to be so hot or this relationship sucks. And we're in it used to be so hot territory with this song. And there's a lot of very direct, frank expressions from Hilary. I agree with you. Her songwriting is very strong on this track. And her voice, I agree, it's not very strong in the sense that she doesn't really wear her heart on her sleeve. She doesn't really like pour her guts out onto the microphone. But she has a good singing voice and it comes clear. And for pop music, you really can't ask for anything other than that. I mean, I guess you could. That's how we got Brat. But in the case of this, I'm not going to complain about her not being super like angry or visceral. I mean, those opening lines are about as angry and visceral as you're going to get, and she lands them. She lands those lines pretty well. The chorus is very strong, and her voice very much matches the intensity of it. So much like you, I am throwing Holiday Party into the good song bucket because it is, in fact, a good song.
It is indeed, one could say, a party. So, but is it a mature party? I guess given the concept of that, it is a pretty mature party. But I think we're kind of like in agreement here. But are we going to be in agreement with the next track here? Because the next track is indeed the big single off the whole record. It is the big granddaddy of them all. It is indeed the most mature track off the whole record. With it being mature. I'm glad that you can deal with my dad puns throughout this whole episode, man. But Matthew, the floor is yours. Why don't you take this one here?
Thank you, Mr. Kearns, for the puns and for throwing the floor to me. I don't recall the last time that I ever heard a single before an album that made me want to listen to an album as much as this song. Because holy hell, this song. First of all, the production from Matthew Koma on this track is absolutely impeccable. You get that opening little synth bloop, and then the drums come in right away and just lay down the beat, and they don't move. They don't go out of time. They don't do anything fancy. They just absolutely hammer home the beat throughout the track. And then you get Hilary Duff herself. And her voice is sounding as clear and as polished as it's been throughout the entirety of this album. But the words are what got me. Because even though it isn't as provocative or sexually explicit as something like Roommates, those opening lines about how, this guy is going down on someone with, or I think the line is going down on you on your vintage rug. Like, that's a Sabrina Carpenter line if I've ever heard it. And somehow it is leaving the mouth of Hilary Duff. And I was like, whoa, okay. But the overall messaging of the song is just a wonderful blend of empathy towards these new girlfriends that her ex is dating, while making it clear that, hey, this guy is a manipulative SOB and you better watch out. And then you get to the chorus, which to me mixes the post-disco of Katy Perry with the intelligence of a Carly Rae Jepsen song. And I mean that in the highest complimentary way possible. The guitars are perfect. The drums are perfect. Her voice is perfect. The bass is doing things that a bass should do. And it just sounds so good, especially when you get to that part where she just does the sort of self chorus of, "You're so mature for your age, babe." It's just very like in your face and up yours. It's so snotty, it's so punchy, and I love it. And what makes the empathy of this track so strong is realizing that she used to be, the person who would be so petty as to show up to a red carpet because, her ex-boyfriend is now dating someone new. It's just like, oh, I'm just here chilling too. I'm cool, and you guys are cool too. But now she's realizing, hey, the woman is not the enemy here. The enemy has always been the manipulator in this relationship. And I guess the lyrics are great, but the production is greater on this track. Like, it's such a great disco, dance, electro-pop song that I'm just like, dude, I'm here for it 1,000 times out of 100. This should have been a hit. I'm pissed off that it isn't. And I hope that sometime in 2030, because time doesn't matter anymore, that this song gets its recollection and somehow cracks its way into the top 40, top 20, top 10, top 5, whatever, because it deserves it. But for now, the only designation I can give it, for those of you who are wondering, is my spot of the favorite song of mine off of Luck or Something. It is Mature by a wide margin.
I can totally respect that. And catch me on a different day. This wouldn't be my second least favorite track off the whole record. Just kidding. For those of you who aren't yeah, Matthew knows that I have ears. I went to college. I know what's up. I have a music podcast here that we've done over 100 reviews for. So I know a good song when I hear it. And yeah, I'm not going to try to steal so much of your thunder here because you did a really good job dissecting the track as a whole. But yeah, dude, this song just slaps. You get clever lyrics in the verses. You get an awesome chorus and an awesome production. Like, everything's just like, very much up to the tens here. The main highlight for me, though, on this track here is the chorus. The melody, like I've illustrated throughout this whole review here so far, the melody that Hilary brings throughout this whole album, with the exception of You from the Honeymoon, but especially with Mature here, it's just so strong. And the little industrial effects that you hear in the chorus adds such a great texture. Like, she's very much still riding the electro-pop vibes here that she's done throughout the whole LP so far. But here, like, you get a little bit more of a grinding effect. And I can dig it. I can dig it, man. The lyric writing, like I illustrated, is extremely clever. And, backhanded. I know I said earlier in the review here that this was her idiot win to her dad. This is like an idiot win to her ex lover. So a couple of highlights here for you. that I had here. In verse 1, you get the bar where she's singing "Very Leo of you with your Scorpio touch." Like, like that's, you could take that in a couple different ways. Like, one, that could be like, Leo and Scorpio in terms of like, astrological signs. But that also could be a backhanded thing of like, very, very Leo of you being Leo DiCaprio, where like, he is notorious for being like, oh, hey, yeah, I'm a very mature person, but I only date 25-year-olds because, men are pigs. Anyways, also in the post-chorus, I did enjoy the bar where she's singing "Watch the tide rise up as high as you got on me," listening to Strawberry Letter 23, and I was just like, that seems specific. Well, for the dear listener out there that doesn't know what a Strawberry Letter 23 is, apparently it's a psychedelic soul classic written by Shuggy Otis and made famous by the Brothers Johnson in 1977. So, like, I always recognize and respect a good, musical nerd reference in there. So, well, hats off to you, Hilary Duff. I applaud your efforts there. And then another lyrical highlight that I had here is in verse 2, where she's singing the bars about "You dim all the lights so you look real wise," as they trace the lines underneath your eyes and mistake your charm for a cosmic sign. So, again, very biting, considering the circumstances here. I very much applaud it through and through. And honestly, like, I know earlier in the LP I was saying, like, she doesn't really have a knockout performance here. I think with Mature here, this is her best performance on the whole LP. So, dear listener out there, you might be wondering why this song is not my favorite song off the whole record. It's because, the grown up, like, interpolation of the chorus just, really, really had an electrifying effect on me. Really, really did a number on me. But this was a close second. And it gun to my head, in all honesty, I probably should make this the top track off the whole record, but I've locked in my ratings. I know what I am. I know what I am doing here for the most part, I guess so. So with Mature, I'm giving it the distinction of being my second favorite track off the whole record.
That's fair, man. I do understand the effect of growing up having electrified you, and I could completely understand this being in your second spot. But yeah, it is very much a song that slaps. The lyrics are creative. The way she sings them is biting and clever. I would say this is much closer to an Idiot Win than The Optimist was. And it's just such a good sounding song. Her vocals are great. The production's great. I have said it already. But yeah, no, this Mature, if you haven't listened to it, take the time, go watch the video, go put it on your Spotify or whatever music streaming source you have. It is worth your time. But speaking of time, we are going to not waste any more of it, and we are going to push forward with the penultimate track off of Luck or Something, and that is Tell Me That Won't Happen. Ryan, the floor is yours.
I will tell you that it will happen, that we will discuss. Tell me that won't happen. But anyways, with the dad puns here are still strong, 100%. Dog dads are real dads too. But here with Tell Me That Won't Happen, we get more anxieties with Hilary's lyric writing here, like earlier in the LP with the tracks specifically Future Tripping. Like here we get a different spin on like, the anxieties of like, existing here with her feeling like she's never gonna experiencing anything new again. And I kind of did appreciate that focus on the lyrical concept here, because it's easy to kind of like, worry about the future and everything like that. But here, this is literally just worrying about like, the present you going into the future. So I thought that was interesting. A couple lyrical highlights here. In the first verse, I enjoyed the bar where she's singing, "I know you better than your mirror and shadow." In the context of the song, she's more talking about like herself, but herself within a relationship. So she's speaking to like her significant other, saying, "I know you better than your mirror and your shadow." And then in the chorus, you get the bar, "Are we 80 years proof?" And with that, yeah, that's just a testament to like the concept of like life in general. Like, are we 80 years proof? Are we gonna like just everything just feel new, fresh, and unique as a whole? So yeah, I did appreciate that. I felt like that was the main thing going on here with the song. The chorus, though, here, it grows pretty well. I very much enjoyed the interplay between the vocals and the production. And you also get keys coming in the second chorus, which was a fun detail. I'm always a fan of, like, tracks where they can add instrumentation onto, like, further choruses within songs. So, I found that to be fun. The electro-pop elements here are still like through and through doing what they're doing, especially in the chorus here. And Hilary sounds fine here. It's a good song. It's very much a good song. So much so that it's going in the good song bucket for me.
Yeah, my thoughts on "Tell Me That Won't Happen." Here we get, to me, an opening and a choice that showcases that for this track, Hilary and her husband are keeping it very simplistic. I've complained so far on several tracks about the $1 million words. There are none here. It's a very simplistic opening. It has a very simplistic ideology. It has a very simplistic message, which is, as you said, Ryan, anxiety about the future and hoping that the downfalls that befall us won't in fact befall us. The production is very solid and basic from Matt Coma. I agree that the chorus is very well and strong. It had a bit of a trebly vibe, like a little thin or, purposefully thin. Like it didn't have a lot of bass in it. But I thought it was very, very solid, and it definitely wasn't unpleasant. Hilary Duff's voice is as solid and in tune as it has been throughout. And yeah, the only nitpick I had about this track was the way the chorus ended with the way that she phrases the title of the song, "Tell Me That Won't Happen," I thought were kind of weak. I thought it could have been a little bit more enunciated and pronounced, but that's just a very small nitpick. Overall, I thought the song was very solid and a nice listen to, and again, dealing with those themes of worrying about the future. So much like you, I will place "Tell Me That Won't Happen" in the good song bucket.
Yeah. Very, very, very curious to see what the overall rating here is going to be between the two of us, because for the most part, I feel like we've basically kind of like had the same appreciation. I think you gushed more about Mature than me, but yeah, for lack of a better segue, man, I think we just find out if this album was the result of luck or something by, trying on an adult-sized medium of a, closing track here. And Matthew, why don't you bring us on home here with the closing track, indeed being adult-sized medium?
Adult-sized medium is the closer, and once again, we enter a little bit into Taylor Swift territory. But again, much like the case with Future Tripping, it's not as obvious. It feels like it's more cribbing influence instead of rotely copying it. And so you get something that has a beat similar to Anti-Hero, but it's not as obvious. At least the drums are produced very much the same, but it doesn't feel quite the same. And then you get into the meat of the song where Hilary Duff is just once again recollecting about who she was as a 20-something, whether it be in her celebrity role and trying to grow into her 20s as a post-teen, if you will, or tween as they call them, and realizing, even though I'm 38 and I got kids now, maybe, just maybe, they're still part of that 20-something party girl, celebrity, starlet in me. And maybe it'll always be there with me. Which I thought was a very revelatory, very self-aware commentary from her, and I very much appreciated that. And what really makes this song stand out for me is the performances, because not only is Matt Coma's production fantastic, but it lets Hilary shine on the chorus. And this, to me, with the exception of Mature, and possibly right up there with it, is her strongest singing on the album. Here it feels like she's more wearing her heart on her sleeve than she has on previous songs. And again, Hilary Duff's not that type of singer, but she can when she wants to be. And here I think she wants to be, and here I think she succeeds. Because it is her strongest singing, particularly on the chorus where everything just elevates itself to another level. And I also did have a lyrical highlight on this track, because again, there are different elements of, pretending you're funny when you're broke, or realizing that part of being in your 20s involves, pads and tampons. But when she drops the line, nobody works faster than time, it's heartbreaking and reassuring. I cannot recall a more self-aware line in a pop song in a long time than that, because she's right. Nobody does work faster than time, and it breaks your heart that time doesn't stop for anybody, but it's reassuring that you realize that now and you have that knowledge to carry on and readjust as you need to. And I thought that was really, really strong. And then, of course, at the end where she talks about, how did this all happen? Was it luck or something? I was just like, yep, roll credits. There it is. There's the title. But yeah, I really did appreciate Adult Size Medium for its self-awareness, its performance, and its production. And for those of you who have been working on filling out your scorecards, you may realize that there is a blank spot on my side. Well, let me fix that right now, because Adult Size Medium closes the album, and it closes out my top 3, and it finishes at number 2.
So, for those of you who are paying attention at home, Matthew's full scorecard that he said that he wasn't going to reveal at the start of the episode turned out to be a top 3 and a bottom 1. So, yeah. And my thoughts about Adult Size Medium. A lot of the thoughts that you shared, I agree with. I thought this was a decent way to end off the whole album. I thought the line that you were gonna highlight, though, as being like a lyrical highlight, because I do agree with you, the reminding me that no one runs faster than time bar. Chef's kiss. Like, no notes. Don't talk to me until next Tuesday. Just enjoy that line. But a tiny detail that I enjoyed within this song was when she's laughing at the bar. Us having no money was so fucking funny, and how like she laughs toward the end of it was just a nice detail, and I very much enjoyed that. So hats off to Hilary for that. You kind of illustrated within the production here, like you get kind of Taylor Swift vibes. The song just feels so big with the they're going big with the electro-pop elements here, and the vocals are just sounding so big. I very much enjoyed that, and you get the little stingers at the ends of Hilary's vocals during the verse, the da 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 da. I thought that was a very nice thing. And did you mark that there was a Ryan Kearns musical kink activated here within the song?
I did not, and I am very curious as to which that is.
You get a full stop at the 3/4 mark where she's singing she's singing "I'm Waking Up to a Dream" sequence. You get a full stop during that section, because how you get that full stop, and that's basically the next bar. Oh my god! I very much appreciate, 1, the full stoppage of the music, but 2, the sonic painting of that bar. So chef's kiss here. I do agree with you. The ending of you didn't really say the ending of the whole track was pretty good, but I did appreciate like the whole like hey, looking back on everything, how did we all get here? Was it luck or something? I did ultimately enjoy that. However, I will critique that the outro was a little weird starting out. Like, you get bars that, again, are, I don't know if they're doing hashtag, like, rap stuff here, or they're just basically kind of just trying to go for the effect of, like, hey, looking back on everything. But consider this. The bars in question here that I want to highlight at the outro are tryhards, icons, Sunday mornings, Super Bowls, turn-ons, tampons, edibles, and booty calls. Like, what? Like, oh man. But anyways, outside of the outro, I mean, the song as a whole was a good song for me. It was a pretty good way to end off the record. So therefore, it's going in the good song bucket, my friend.
Much respect to that, and again, it is a good song. I'm a little higher on it than you, obviously, but yeah, no, I think that to me the randomness of that, I think that's her just listing off things that people deal with in their 20s, whether it's tampons or Super Bowls or the tampon of Super Bowls, or I don't know, whatever the case may be. For lack of a better segue, because I'm not sure if there's a good one to get out of that with, Hilary realizes that, it could be luck or something that brought her to where she is in life now. But I would say it is a combination of luck and skill, just like the luck and skill that we just demonstrated for 11 tracks up and 11 tracks down. With scorecards filled out, there is only one thing left to say.
We did it.
We did it, man. We went to 2026, the present day, listened to some Hilary Duff, and hopefully matured a little bit in the process. I will go first with my review of Luck or Something. And yeah, like I said, mature was the caveat that really led me into this album. And my overall thought is that, this album's a pretty good album, because on the one hand, it doesn't have, as I mentioned, the heart on sleeve effect that some pop stars have shown recently, whether it be Chappell Roan or Charlie XCX, or I'll even throw Olivia Rodrigo in there. But what you do get is an album that, even though it doesn't wear its heart on its sleeve, it very seldom falls flat on its ass. Because I did not hear any of the pitfalls that I heard on The Life of a Showgirl here on Luck or Something. This is a very slick, very professional, very we did our homework type of pop album. And I'm always a fan of any artist that does their homework, whether again they copy their homework or not, that's for lawyers to decide. But what you get is a strong blend of breezy pop, occasionally confessional lyrics, strong to solid production throughout, and ultimately a pop song that is worth your time. So, I'm going to give Luck or Something by Hilary Duff a pretty solid 7.5 out of 10.
And for me, speaking as somebody who, knew who Hilary was and knew that she had a show and had a movie and had a song called What Dreams Were Made Of, I was really excited about diving into Luck or Something by said artist, Hilary Duff herself, and I found the album to be a pretty pleasant experience. Is it gonna be an album that I'm gonna if I come across it in a record store, consider picking it up on vinyl? Not necessarily, because a lot, my favorite song off the whole record, which was Growing Up, I didn't have a transformative experience with it. And the other, Mature is a great song, and We Don't Talk, solid song as well. The good song buckets are good songs. The Optimist was a solid song for me. We were going to disagree on that forever. And just other songs off the record, whether it's Roommates, Weather for Tennis, you get an electro-pop album that's filled with strong melodies, clever lyric writing, and very much Hilary coming into her own, coming out of like a divorce and just writing about her personal experiences, which I always do appreciate as like a music fan. And yeah, I'm walking away from the record feeling like this is a solid recommendation for anybody who is looking for a good representation of like the modern pop sound, and who's a Hilary Duff fan of like any ilk, whether you're a seasoned vet or you're just like waking up tomorrow thinking like, you know what, I'm gonna be a Hilary Duff fan. Where do I begin? So there you go. But the official rating that I'm gonna go with Like or Something by Hilary Duff, I'm gonna go one little tick down from your 7.5, and I'm gonna give Like or Something by Hilary Duff a decent 7 out of 10.
So the math comes out to Ryan's 7 and my 7.5, averaging out to a 7.25 out of 10 because
Math
works, everybody. It does not hate. It does not discriminate. It's just math, and math are facts. So I am going to recommend, I'm not going to galaxy brain this one. I'm just going to be very simplistic. For a nice compare and contrast, I would recommend another Hilary Duff album, that being her first non-Christmas album entitled Metamorphosis from 2003. The production's a lot different, the sound's a lot different, the time was a lot different, but you get that same level of professionalism, same level of voice and vocal performance, but different songwriters and a different perspective because, again, she was, in fact, just getting into her teenage years. So compare that with Luck or Something and see how much she's evolved, not just as a singer and songwriter, but also as a person.
And for me, while I could maybe have I guess, quote unquote cheated and listened to a Hilary Duff album to like properly throw it in the next album recommendation here, part of the review, I did not, because, that's what I chose. But the direction I'm going with is I wanted to pick a album that kind of did embody the electro-pop elements that like this album was released in 2026, that like this album here does feature a female artist that we've covered in the past, and that album is Wuthering Heights by Charlie XCX. Pretty good album. It's a definitely a departure of sound compared to like what she was doing here with Brat. And also in that, it's an interesting album in its own because it's kind of a soundtrack to Wuthering Heights that was released this year in movies. So yeah, that's my next album recommendation, Wuthering Heights by Charlie XCX. If you did indeed check out Luck or Something by Hilary Duff and looking for somewhere else to go, man.
Agreed. So if you have listened to Luck or Something and you're looking for something else to go to, Ryan recommends Wuthering Heights by Charlie XCX. I recommend Metamorphosis by Hilary Duff, both based off of Luck or Something, which we gave a average review of 7.25 out of 10. So yeah, man, we did our first album of 2026 in 2026. How you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. I feel very proud that I can put a feather in my cap knowing a Hilary Duff LP and going into the pop music scene as a whole. I always appreciate the opportunity, becoming more knowledgeable about that. So yeah, how about you, man?
I'm glad we did it too, because again, this was an album I had anticipated for several weeks after Mature came out, but again, was it perfect? No. But did I enjoy it? Yes, I did, and I enjoyed talking about it very much. So, before we kick this review into bed, one last thing we must do, Ryan, is find out what our next review is going to be. What you got cooked up for us?
So, for our final review of Women's History Month of the year of our Lord 2026, I am, we did the album The Miseducation of Lauryn Hill by Lauryn Hill out of my camp to it was my one offering, so I'm gonna go a little bit more within my wheelhouse with this review coming up here soon. Well, coming up next week. So the way I'm going to have you choose between these two artists is I'm going to have you simply pick a movie that I feel like represents like the overall theme, the overall like vibe that these artists tend to go for in terms of like songwriting as a whole. Are you ready?
I am ready.
The two movies are Turning Red or Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh boy. Well, I will go with the movie I've actually seen, and I will pick Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
And with that choice, you have, greenlit our ability to review our second album of 2026. So, with that, we are going to be reviewing the new album by Mitski herself. And that album is indeed called Nothing's About to Happen to Me.
Oh, jeez. Okay, I have very limited experience, if not any experience with Mitski, so this is good. I am up for the challenge, man. Let's ride this pony.
Oh yeah, I'm very much excited. It's been a record that's been in my rotation for a little bit now, but I'm going to say my opinions about the record for next week's review, because that's what we do here on Hey Listen to This. So, dear listener out there, if you have never listened to Nothing's About to Happen to Me by Mitski, make sure you check it out before next week's review. That way you can have opinions about the record, and you can have opinions about the opinions that me and Matthew are going to be bringing to the table. But just walking away from this review here, man, like, we've been at this game here for like almost 3 years in total. So we've been kind of chugging along. We've had some moderate success, for two dudes who are basically independent guys who are not sponsored by any podcast network. But I feel like we have a good thing going on here, and I'm just asking, in hindsight, with all the accomplishments that we've done here so far, was it luck or something?
Nah, pure skill, baby.